There's a lot of information in the speech, but you're not always citing the sources of that material. I don't think that too much of it is controversial, but it does sound like you are unfamiliar with the material because of the difficulty that you have in reading it and pronunciation. And I just got to pick out 2 or 3 things that jumped out at me. Quarrymen, you had a tough time with that. Stu Sutcliffe, you had a tough time with that. Shea Stadium, you had a tough time with that. Publicity as opposed to publicly. So it just seems like you hadn't had enough time to practice and just get used to what you've got. You've got material here, you know what you're going to say, but you haven't gone through the steps of actually presenting it. This seems like it's a really rough version of the speech, sort of like the first or second run-through as opposed to something that's a little bit more polished. And when you're talking to an audience, forget the grade or any of those kinds of things. You want to make a good impression with the audience. You're going to have so much more confidence and make a much better impression when you can deliver all that material like it's the back of your hand. You know this stuff really well, and you're not having to depend on the script. When you look down the script occasionally for a prompt as to where to go next, or maybe a statistic or a quote. When you're talking about something that you picked, you're supposed to be interested in, you've been looking at it for a while, and you're still struggling with the language, it just seems like it's kind of last minute and not well prepared, and that's not the impression that you want to give people. All right. And right at the end, it just seems like the exit is kind of abrupt. The visual materials, all you have is the video clip. Using as an attention device is fine. There's so many possibilities here that jump out. I just think you lose you're missing out on a trick here to make this speech a lot more interesting. You're talking about a subject that a lot of people would be interested in, and even people today still think of the Beatles as the rock band of all time. So there's a good reason to be talking about them, and you ought to be able to get more out of that kind of notion with some visuals. All right, thank you.